I am starting a new series on socials about places in honor of the podcast, talking about places and things. And the first place I'm going to talk about is the Bolden Library. I mentioned it on the last episode of the podcast where I talked about Oxford, and for context, the Walden Library is one of the oldest libraries in Europe, and in the UK, it is the second largest library, second to the British Library. Now, I did some digging, and the Walden Library has a rich history. It was first started in 1478, built in order to house the manuscripts and books that were donated to Oxford by Duke Humphrey, who was the younger brother of Henry V, and this library was made to house the donations that he made to Oxford, but it didn't last very long. This library only lasted about 60 years and was shut down, but it was restarted and refurbished by Thomas Bodley, who donated 2,500 books to the library and started its expansion into what it now is today. Not the final form, but started its path down being such a huge library. And he didn't only start its path of expansion, but started a legacy which is still in place today of the Bolden Library being a legal deposit library. Now, a legal deposit is basically a library that holds a copy of every published work in a country so that future generations can look back and see the rich cultural heritage of public published works from that country. And in 1610, Thomas boldly entered into a contract with the Stationers' Company of London in order to just collect any copies of books that were published across England. And this contract was recognized in law in 2003, which allows the Bowdoin Library to be one of six legal deposit libraries across the UK that holds any copies of published works in physical or e format across the UK and Ireland. So any future generations can just look back and see the rich history of published books, manuscripts, anything that has ever come out of the UK and Ireland, and just look at the combination of knowledge in a cultural heritage type of way. So that is just a bit of tidbit of history about the Bowdoin Library and how it is still in place today.